Hi there, this is Phil Simborg for the USBGF, and I was asked to do a short video explaining market loser theory. So first let's define terms. What's a market loser? What does it mean to lose your market? Let's pretend you had a car, used car to sell, and in the blue book it said that the car is worth $10,000. Well, if you priced it at $12,000, you've lost your market. Nobody would buy it. There's no market for your car. You priced it too high. In backgammon, if you give the cube when it's too expensive or difficult or too much of a risk for your opponent to take the cube, you've lost your market. So if you wait too long to double and you lose your market, you'll only win 1 point. Now, it's not so bad to win 1 point. Winning is good, but it's better to win 2 points or 4 points if you double earlier and can gammon your opponent and win 4 points, or just win 2 points instead of 1. Now, statistically and mathematically, we can show that it's better to win 2 points 80% of the time, even though you're going to lose 2 points 20% of the time, than just winning 1 point 100% of the time by waiting until it's a drop. So you want to double at just the right point, not too soon and not too early. Now, in a racing game, we have formulas, and for example, I use the Keith count in a position like this that tells me precisely when to double. But let's see how we apply market loser theory and why the Keith count helps us determine market loser theory. In this position, red's on roll. He's only up 3 pips. The first thing I tell my students to do, always, is use Woolsey's law. Put yourself in your opponent's shoes and ask yourself whether or not your opponent would take or drop. Always decide that before you decide if you would double. If you think your opponent would drop, then for sure give the cube. The only reason you wouldn't is if you might be too good to double. You might get too many gammons. If there's a lot of gammons, there's very little risk of losing, then maybe you should play on instead of doubling. But in most situations, certainly like this, where there's no gammons, there's no reason to play on if he's going to drop. For example, let's take blue and put him way back here, and he's got a horrible take. He's way behind in the race. He would drop. Why should you not double here? He might roll double sixes and catch up and beat you. But at this point, I'm sure he's taking. Once you're sure he's taking, then you have to worry about market losers. But let's look at the other ideas first. If you're sure he's dropping, give the cube. If you're not quite sure if he's taking or not quite sure if he's dropping, give the cube. Because if you're not sure, maybe he's not sure, and he might make a mistake. And also, if you're not sure if you would take the cube, it's probably because it's very close to being on the borderline between taking and dropping. And that means if you don't give the cube now, you probably have a good chance of losing your market and being too good next time for him to take. So that's the 3 things that can happen. You think it's a take but you're not sure, you think it's a pass but you're not sure, or you think it's a drop. In all 3 of those cases, give the cube. When you're sure it's a take, as in this position, the only reason to give the cube is if you might lose your market. Now, of course, there's a human factor. If you think you might get a pass even though you know it's a take, that's another reason to give the cube, but that's dealing with if you know your opponent, or you have a feeling that he's passing and you want to take a risk even though you think it's not a double, and even if you think it's a take that he might drop. But if you're playing a decent opponent or assuming he makes the right decision, the only reason to give a cube anytime your opponent has a take is if you would lose your market too much. Now, how much is too much? For years we just guessed at it, and then one day my very fine teaching partner John O'Hagan came up with John O'Hagan's law, or O'Hagan's law, which says that in most normal situations, money games and normal match scores, where the take point's around 21.5, and that's the live cube take point in a money game that I use, and the gammon values are about 0.5. In those situations, if you're going to lose your market 25% of the time, you probably have a double, and that's assuming that you look reasonably decent on the rolls where you don't lose your market, and also an exception would be on rolls where when you do lose your market, you might lose it by a tremendous amount because you could hit them or gammon them or something like that. But generally speaking, 25% is the rule, and it really helps a lot. In this position, we can use formulas that tell us whether we lose our market 25% of the time. But let me first of all prove to you that this is not a double when you're only up 3 pips. It's no double. It would be a blunder to double. And here's why it's so hard to lose your market. Let's pretend that red rolls much better than average. The average roll is at 8. Let's give him a really good roll. Let's give him a 10, a 6, and a 4. Let's give blue a pretty bad roll. Let's give him a 5. Let's give him a 3 and a 2. He's rolled 5 pips better, which is a pretty big number difference to roll, and blue would still take on the next roll. It's a huge take. So you didn't lose your market even if you rolled really well. Now there's no question that if you had rolled double sixes and he rolls a 2-1, you've lost your market. But how often does that happen? Now why is it so bad to give the cube early? It's one of the best gifts. Howard Ring, who was one of my mentors and teachers, told me one of the greatest gifts you can give someone is an early cube, because you didn't gain anything if he's taking almost all the time next time anyway. What could you lose by giving the cube early? Well, what happens if I had doubled, if red had doubled and blue rolled double sixes or double fives? Now you're going to lose 2 points instead of 1. Also, even if it's fairly close, the second you give blue the cube, you increase his winning chances, because holding the cube gives him winning chances. In a race, it increases his equity by about 18% just by holding the cube in a normal race. So he's going to win more just because he has the cube, because he has the power to return the cube and end the game that way or raise the stakes that way, and you don't. So that's why you need to have about 25% market losers. And again, I use the Keith count that tells us definitively that in situations like this, you have to be over by 4 pips after adding the wastage and after adding 1/7 to the red side. So after it gives you a formula for, and I won't get into that right now, that tells you when you're close enough to lose your market in a race. Now what if it isn't a race? More volatile positions are harder. Here's another example where you could easily lose your market here. Now again, red's only barely up in this race, and if red doesn't hit blue on this roll, it's a fairly close game, but red's got a slight lead because he's on roll first and he's up 2 pips. So if he doesn't hit, he's in okay shape. If he does hit, he's lost his market. It's that simple. How often will he hit? Every good player should know that blue is going to get hit here 14 times. He gets hit with all 3s plus 2-1, 1-2, and double 1. And if you know your hitting table, you'll get these much quicker. 11, 12, 14, 15, 15, 17, 6, 6, 5, 3, 2, 3. That's the odds of hitting from 1 away, 2 away, 3 away, all the way up to 12 away. So you should be able to calculate these very quickly. That's a lot more than 25% market losers. 25 market losers is 9 out of 36 rolls. 14 out of 36 rolls. But when you hit, not only do you win the game, you're going to win some gammons here. So you have you've lost your market by a tremendous amount. So this has to be a double. And the market loser theory is the reason. Of course you're going to be sorry if you double and you don't hit him, but you're only going to be really sorry if you double, don't hit him, and you roll poorly and he rolls double sixes or double fives or some very high number. Most of the time when you don't hit, you're still in this game, you're still a favorite, and when you do hit, you've lost your market by a lot. So this is a must double situation, and it would be a 0.28 error. A blunder is 0.08. Look how bad this is. This is like almost a 4 times blunder, not to double. So that's the essence of market loser theory. I hope that helps you understand why and when you give the cube if you know your opponent is taking. Always start with Woolsey's law. Always try to double when it's close, when your opponent has a tougher decision, or when you're going to lose your market by too much in either volatile situations or in races. I hope this helps, and appreciate those of you who support the USBGF. If you are not a member of the USBGF, you can watch over 200 videos like this on every kind of subject that's been saved on the USBGF website. So I urge you to join the USBGF so you can watch all my videos with a lot of guest lecturers, but there's a whole lot of other reasons to join the USBGF. You get discounts on many products, you get to compete in many, many events, both online and live. As a result of membership, it's the most amazing magazine and Backgammon Today that comes out every 2 months. It's just a fabulous magazine. There's lots of articles, there's lots of resources and information in the USBGF, and whether you're a U.S. citizen or not, you're supporting the growth of backgammon worldwide. We're doing a lot. This organization is doing a lot to help advance the game and working with other federations around the world. A good percentage of our members are not U.S. citizens, so it's not just limited to that. You can support the organization and get all the benefits even if you live outside the U.S. So please take a look at clicking on the tab that takes you to the website. Join this fine organization and support the game, and you'll get a lot of support in return. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.